Yes.
Easy going right there. One more to go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to ORL Online Racing League for round number 6 of the season here at the beautiful Canadian Grand Prix. My name is Joshua Davis, back on your screens once again, and join me alongside me, as they have all done for this season, is Joanna Brito. How you doing, Joanna?
Hi Joshua, hi everyone at home. Welcome back for one final time in 2022, and we will be going to Canada. You'll speak a bit about the circuit in a bit, but yeah, really excited. Last season it was our season opener, and we had tons, but literally tons of action happening, so hopefully tonight we'll have a banger as well.
Absolutely. We've got a brilliant grid for you as well tonight. We'll have a look at the Canadian Grand Prix circuit. 14 turns, 7 to the left and 7 to the right. 4.361 kilometers, 2.7 miles if you are from the west side of the globe. A beautiful part of Canada, Montreal, of course. Absolutely beautiful indeed. Host to some brilliant racing in real life as well. 2011, 2012, whenever it was, Jenson Button and Sebastian Vettel with that the longest race in F1 history, about 3 hours. That was definitely long for all of those who remember that long ago. But we are back in the sim racing world, of course, again, for the last time in the 2022 calendar, which is always very, very exciting. So let's make it a very, very nice one indeed. We are pretty much ready to go in qualifying. For qualifying one, of course, and if we can have a look at the grid, if you look to P17, we have a certain world champion on our shoulders of Daniela Haddad. Last season's champion, of course, come back for some racing. Still can mathematically win the championship if Danny doesn't finish outside the points for quite a lot of the races. But He's come back from F1 Esports duties. Joanna, how do you think Danny will do this, well, tonight even?
It was his first race, his first win last season, but it wasn't an easy one. I'll tell you that. It wasn't looking like it was going his way, with the late safety car causing a bit, and that's an euphemism, of a mess. So let's see. I'm really happy to have Daniele back on the grid. It's always good to have a champion back. And of course, quite a few other names that I'm curious to see what they will bring to tonight's race. For example, Felipe Souza, the Brazilian driver. He's not the only Brazilian on the grid tonight. We have Igor as well in the Alfa Romeo. But I'm curious to see how those two will fare against such renowned names around the whole grid, of course.
Absolutely. Felipe Sousa, a well-known driver on the Xbox platform all those years ago, moved over to PC, proved himself in a lot of the high-list leagues, a lot of high-list drivers as well, including ORL, of course, and obviously has made his presence back in the ORL scene once again as Javier Fernandez sets the timing screens alive with his first dry time with a 1 minute 9.881. Daniel Haddad, who we've been riding on board with this whole time, crosses the line for his first intermediate lap time. Just see how everything is feeling on his rig and in the car. Sets a 1 minute 13.147, which is nowhere near competitive, but obviously on the intermediates you wouldn't expect it to be. Jere van Bassel was also out there on his outlap for the Alpine team. He had a brilliant Grand Prix at Belgium a few weeks ago in that last bit of tussle with Danny Berezny, of course, just losing out on the win. Could have been his if that safety car didn't come out, but just to his unfortunate occurrence, it came out for his unluckiness, but definitely can prove a lot of these guys wrong and can definitely get a good result if he needs to do it out of the bag. And with a soft front, first of all, he can definitely get himself up the timing board. Jeremy Glenier comes back as well. As we said, also Danny Berezny topping the timing sheets, well, top of the championship so far as well this season. Ismail Fassi not here tonight. He is away from home, so he's going to have to hope that Danny doesn't have a good race tonight for his sake in the championship. Chanakinchi, however, he's 2 points off Ismail Fassi in the championship, so he's looking to try maybe take the lead if he can, but with Danny and also Daniela racing, it could be proven a little bit difficult for the Turkish man, but with his teammate Jere van Bassel, it's also going to be pretty decent points for Alpine as well. They can definitely help each other out. So we'll run on board with a lap with Jere van Bassel into Sector 1 with the Sector 1 Delta coming right about now with a 19.567 into the left and hop on towards the right. Be careful not to go too wide here on towards the curbs. It will unsettle the car and cause you into a little bit of a spin. Down towards the back straight, under the Rolex signs, into a fast right-hander. You can cut this as much as you can and ride the curbs on the left on towards the exit. Once again now into the hairpin. Robert Kubica having a humongous crash in 2007, which made him, lost him the seats a race later due to his injuries. Thankfully, came back fighting 2 races later. Coming back towards the back straight into the wall of champions for the final time comes Jere van Bassel. He comes towards the right and towards the left. A lot of memorable crashes happening here, which is why it's called the Wall of Champions. Michael Schumacher, I believe, having a few incidences all those years ago. And across comes Jere van Bassel to do 1 minute 9.989, and they're about a tenth off Javier Fernandez. So already the track is a little bit slow at the moment. Javier Fernandez really setting the time streets alive so far.
Interesting to see. As usual, we have most of our drivers doing their first attempts on the intermediate compounds. Other driver that we haven't yet spoken, I believe, and I'm quite curious to see what he will bring for tonight's race is, of course, Jan Haladesh, our other race winner, besides, of course, the top 2 of the, not the top 2 anymore. Not the top 2 any. Oh, yes, still the top 2. Sorry. Besides Ismail and Danny Berezny, our other race winner is Jan Haladesh. So curious to see what the McLaren men will be able to show us tonight. Of course, with 3 DRS zones on the track, always difficult to try to create a gap, and we'll see. But for now, we are on the qualifying. Let's not jump to the race just yet. And of course, we have our drivers most coming into the pit lane and going for their first, except of course for Javier and Jerry, going for their first real attempt.
Yeah, expect Javier and Jerry to come out a little bit later in Q1, round about the 3-minute mark. So they've got some time to chillax in their garages if they do so, please. But we're on board with Jeremy, who's the next one to start a lap on the soft compounded tyres. Everyone else prepping for the softs as well. Stefano Romazio, Jan Haladej, of course, as well. Tony Roche in P6 prepping the softs as well. All those times from about 3rd to 10th, all on the intermediate compounded tyres. There's one of the Mercedes coming out as well. That's Felipe Sousa just behind Jeremy as he comes towards Sector 1 once again, flat out towards the curbs in that AlphaTauri machine. We've had a pretty up and down season so far, AlphaTauri. They've had some good results with a few of their drivers, but just those ifs and buts, really. They sit P9 in the constructors so far, so hopefully they can try and raise the board a little bit more tonight, as his teammate of Jeremy, Drax, is currently sat P8 on his intermediate time. Pedestrian Mena prepping the mediums, which is a fairly interesting choice, so we might want to save the soft compound tyres for a little bit later on. Does the McLaren, as Jeremy sets a wall 41.8, I think that was, in Sector 2, his delta there, so not bad at all as he comes towards the penultimate detection zone of the DRS. There it is, open now as he comes towards the priority boards, towards the right-hand side and left-hand side. The Wall of Champions staring him in the face. Big braking on the 100-meter board, hitting the right, hitting the left. A little bit of a tap on the wall, I think, just out of the final corner. No harm done across the line. And it's pole position for Jeremy with a 1 minute 9.820. We're getting agonizingly close to the 7s.
Well, I'm pretty sure that it will go lower during the 3 qualifying sessions. Actually, I'm quite interested to see what the pole position time will be, but for now we have quite a few drivers prepping on their soft attempts, and I think the next one starting a lap will be Stefano Ramazio on the Ferrari.
I think it might be. We'll have a look where he is now. He's just coming out the final corner. We're just going to have a look at Felipe Sousa as well. He's also on a lap in the Mercedes, coming towards the right-hander and the left. A few more drivers coming out as well. I think that's Lillian and Igor Arujo as well, who's coming out for Alfa Romeo and the other Mercedes also. As Stefano Ramazio as well coming out alongside Drax in the AlphaTauri. Felipe Sousa into Sector 3 now as he makes his way towards the hairpin, on towards the back straight. The Aston Martin, I believe that is Primoz Mikljevic just behind him, prepping his lap. It might be Istvan Pukki also. I'm going to say it is Istvan Pukki just behind as Felipe Sousa comes towards the final couple of corners. A flick on the left, a flick on the right, a little bit of a debris just out of the exit. Across the line comes Felipe, and it's P4.
Very unfortunate, Joshua, for Igor Arujo. He had, I think it was one of the Aston Martins, not sure if it was Pukki, but I'm just going to check. Yeah, it was Istvan Pukki just ahead of him on track, still warming up the tires, and he tried to go before he harmed Igor's lap, but unfortunately I don't think he succeeded. He almost lost the car in the Wall of Champions, and for sure he lost time there.
Yeah, that might be one for the stewards. Illegal blocking on a formation lap, and that on the qualifying lap, sorry. And yeah, might be in the naughty step for Istvan Pukki after that one, but we'll have to wait and see what the the stewards think about that one as we ride on board with Istvan Pukki now. 41.777 in Sector 2 as Lethal Sniper jumps up to P3 for Williams with 1 minute 9.961 there. Really getting it in the mix with the likes of Yari Van Bassel and Jeremy Glenier, just in that sandwich between the 8s and the 9s, really, which is so tight indeed. Istvan Pukki coming towards the final couple of corners now. Hop, skip and a jump out of the Wall of Champions. DRS activated right on time, and across the line comes Istvan Pukki in his P6 with 1 minute 10.182 and just about a tenth of Felipe Sousa as Jan Haladej finally breaks into 109.7s just about with a 1 minute 7.94. As Janakinci really putting the power down there with a 1 minute 9.681. So Janakinci definitely hungry for this championship advantage on Ismail Fassi.
Interesting to see Danny Berezny invalidated his first attempt. He's now going for a second one, I think. Unless it was his outlap, but I think it was his first attempt, and it didn't really go as expected for the Alfa Romeo driver and our championship leader, of course. but still plenty of time, and a man of the experience that Danny has, for sure will be able to put a better time quite soon.
Yep, definitely. So we're going to ride on board with him through sector 1, 19.4 through there for the Alfa Romeo driver. Fresh off F1 Esports duties, of course, alongside Daniele Haddad, who comes back in also to the fray for Williams. He's just finished off his stint for the F1 Esports Series as well. Danny Beresney really running through the risks there, through the left and the right. Out of sector 2 as he comes into detection zone now, 41.5. So that is pretty decent, about 2 tenths quicker than Jeremy Glinier through there into P3 at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see where Danny goes on this lap time so far. He's got a 1 minute 9.681 to beat for the top spot, which is held by Shanakinchi at the moment. We'll see where Danny Beresny is. Apologies for the little bit of interestingness. We might have to cut there because I think my PC is deciding to have a little bit of a meltdown. Do apologise. We'll try and get that back as soon as possible. I will quickly fix that now. Trying if we could just get a few radio comms for a few moments.
Sure. So Danny ended up jumping to P2, quite close to Jan Aladesh's time, and about half attempt of Chenakinchi's first time. Of course, we have Daniele with not a really competitive time as of now, so we can't compare them. And at this moment, while we have a bit of a yellow flag, so I can't really see how long until the end of the session. But we have only Nardi Perez with no time on the board, and of course Stefano Ramaggio. I don't think that time is representative at all as well. So we'll see. Quite a few drivers on the 9.9 at the moment. I think you'll need an invitation, right?
I think I might do. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for this. Don't know why it's decided to crash on me. There we go. Right, let's try again for this one. We will get the results of Q1 as quickly as possible if I can try and get back in as soon as possible. Do apologise for this, but we'll have to wait and see how everything goes. As we'll try and get back as soon as possible, but I'm not sure where Danny placed after that one.
Still 3 minutes to go.
Still 3 minutes so far, and we'll have a look how everything goes after that one. We'll have to wait and see who will top Q1 in a few moments.
Okay. At the moment, we have Drax and Nadi Perez both preparing for their attempts. The Alpha Tauri driver will go first, just starting his lap. Of course, at the moment, his time is a 1:11.0. So loads of time to take off. He has 6 tenths between him and the Modesto Mena ahead of him. So I'm quite curious to see how high can the AlphaTauri driver jump after this attempt. So far, pretty good, no invalidations. Nardi Perez actually went to the pits, and we have Danny retiring as well. So might have been a connection issue, not sure. Hopefully not. Just let me try to get Danny back into the lobby. There you go. While we have 3 drivers already retired, with Danny Berezny, Jan Aladesh, and Jeremy, all in P2, P3, and P4 respectively, already retiring from the session, considering that their time is enough. And Javier Fernandez comes to the pit lane and retires as well. He's P5 at the moment. So interesting to see if these times will be challenged or not. And Igor Araújo, Igor jumping for P1 with a 1:9.658. So very interesting time from the Brazilian driver in the Alfa Romeo, jumping for the first time on the score. Very nice of him. In the meantime, of course, we have Daniele Haddad starting his attempt still in the first sector. It's important that he doesn't invalidate this attempt, of course, if he wants to move on to the second qualifying session. Joshua, how are you? How can I help you in any way?
Just trying to reboot everything on my PC. I do apologize, everyone. These things unfortunately happen, but
Yeah, of
hopefully
course
we'll
it
be
happens.
in a few moments.
Uh, okay, so some technical issues for us to take care of. In the meantime, we have Daniela that closing in on the last chicane, cuts on the right, cuts on the left, manages to keep it well out of the wall, and he closes the lap and he will jump to P1, 19607. Who said that he had to play safe and not invalidate his lap? Uh, that's not on Daniele's plan. P1 for the Italian. And right now we have, of course, still on the lap, Nardi Perez, Stefano Ramazzi, Drax, Modesto Mena, and Istvan Pukki on the 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 exit zone, with Felipe Souza in danger in P15 at the moment. Of course, all these drivers are doing their final attempt. Some of them are doing it on used tires, so let's see if this doesn't hurt their aspirations to go into the second qualifying session.
Let's hope so as we try to reboot as quickly as possible. Hopefully everything should be okay for now. Looks so okay from my end so far. Let's hopefully we can speed things up so we can get some action on the board, not stare at a black screen, as we can try and quickly get back into the lobby as quickly.
Oh, and
as
Felipe
possible.
Souza spun. Felipe Souza spun, and he's still P15. He's on he's on the spots to Q2, but he's in danger, and he will not be able to put another attempt on this qualifying session. So he's on the hands, really, of Modesto Mena, who is still the only man who can take. Oh, but he spun as well. Modesto spun as well, so he's out. We have our 5 drivers who will not be proceeding to the second qualifying session already defined. And I think it's a bit of a surprise to see Stefano Ramazzi and Istvan Pukki on those 5. Of course, Modesto Mena, also a very fast driver, out of this qualifying session with Drax, and Nardi Perez exiting the qualifying session right now as well. Felipe Souza, although he spun, he is able to move on to the second qualifying session, and he will have a fresh new set of attempts to try to prove he can improve on that P15.
Yep, there we go. Finally got the game back up there. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for those few minutes of awkwardness, but we have just missed the end of Q1. Thank you, Joanna, though, for keeping us up to date with our radio commentary. But yeah, there we go. Danny Beresny, Daniel Haddad even, topping the timing sheets there with a 1 minute 9.607. Igor Arujo into P2 there. Danny Beresny in P5. Yerevan Basal third. Chanakinchi in fourth with Daniel Klichin in 6th there, as we can get our results now. There we go then. 5th, well, pretty much half a tenth of a second separating the Italian to the Brazilian of Haddad and Arujo, and 74,000 separating the top 4 there. Yarovan Basal third with Chanakichi 4th. Danny Beresny is 5th. Daniel Klichin for Norway is 6th. Jan Haladesh is 7th with Jeremy in 8th. Lillian is 9th for Puros Miklovic in P10. Javier Fernandez is 11th with Tony Roche in P12. Lethal Sniper is 13th with Melamere in 14th. Felipe Sousa just about getting away with it in 15th, and we say goodbye to Stefano Ramazio, Istvan Pukki, Modesto Mena, Drax and Nardi Perez out of this qualifying session in the most dramatic ways possible, Joanna.
Well, indeed, see, especially if you consider how many of them just lost the control of the car on their last attempt or something like that. So these drivers really pushing it to the limit, and some of them going a bit even further than they were supposed to. So 5 down, another 5 to exit at the end of the second qualifying session. That will start in a few moments. So let's see who will they be, and how fast can they go on this second qualifying session, considering that on the first qualifying session we had a 19607 from Daniele Haddad.
Absolutely. So we'll wait and see what that happens there. We'll just direct you to the Drivers and Constructors Championships very, very quickly. Danny Beresny topping the time, topping the standings so far. 76 points placed to Ismail Fassi's 59, with Chanakinchi waiting in the wings, 54 points to his name. Ben Sabakonyi is P4 with 48. Jan Haladej is 5th with 42. Jakub Rozetsu is 7th with 27. Dobrev Court with 26. Richer is for Ferrari with 20 points. Yannick Schmitz with 19th. And Domenico Ravecce sitting P10 on 18 points with his P2 at China. Moving on to the constructors standings, it is Alfa Romeo still looking pretty tasty for that top row spot, and definitely looking like they can challenge for the title in a few races to come. Alpine are sitting second, very, very close to Mercedes in P3 and Red Bull in P4. McLaren sit 5th on 41 with Williams in P6 on 27. Aston Martin share their spot in P6 with 27 points to their name as well. Ferrari in P8 with 19 points to them. AlphaTauri 9th with 8 points. And Haas really looking to try and get a better result with their 1 point. But they're doing doing well so far as they see themselves into Q2 for the first time in quite a while. As everyone now trying to get their lap times in. I think it will be Danny Bresnay to set the first one aboard.
Possibly. I'm sorry. Now it was me having a few technical issues, but I'm back. So yeah, we have almost every single driver except for the Red Bull of Tony Richer on the track. So quite a busy moment right now. Of course, Milan will have to be. He's just leaving the pit lane. Will have to be really careful, considering that so many people are already on their attempts. So hopefully he will be able to not hurt any attempts being made at the moment.
Absolutely. So we'll stick on board with Danny Bresnay through sector 2 as well, flying towards the right, hopping towards the left, through into 5th gear, up to 6th, up to 7th as you head into the hairpin, revving out in 7th gear, braking very, very hard at 41.7 so far for Danny Bresnay. Remember, his track is quite cold in Q2, so expect a little bit slower times than what we were seeing at the end of Q1. So we'll have to wait and see right near the end what these really, really quick times will be as we enter into the final couple of corners with Danny Bresnay braking just on the 100-meter board. Flick onto the right, flick onto the left. A little bit of a kiss on the World Champions, and across the line, the 1 minute 9.966 for Danny Bresnay. Pretty decent there as Chanakinchi beats him to about 6 thousandths of a second with a 1 minute 9.960. And Chanakinchi, this is the man to beat so far this session, and he is doing really, really well, beating Danny Bresnay for twice in a row so far. Beat him in Q1, looking likely to beat him in Q2. Milan Mayer is just starting his lap for the Haas team alongside Daniel Cleason as well. Felipe Sousa is making his way through the final couple of corners as well as Javier Fernandez, another man to beat. He's been on form as well with a 1 minute 9.781. Lethal Sniper puts it P4 with 1 minute 10.941. I think a few issues on his side there throughout that lap. We'll run on boards with Felipe Sousa. Has a massive moment out of the final corner, kissing it a little bit and across the line to a 1 minute 10.244 there, losing a lot of time out of the final corner, most definitely. And I think that was Daniel Haddad slotting into P2 with 1 minute 9.952. Javier Fernandez 2 tenths quicker than anybody at the moment.
Interesting to see the Ferrari driver going faster than Daniele Chen and Danny Bresnay. Of course, these three really, really close. If you notice, it's like 15 thousandths between them. 14,000 between all of them, so really similar times between all three, especially when you consider that Daniele, who was the fastest of the three, put the time slightly later than the other two.
Yep, definitely so. As we've just seen Milan Mayer put it into P5 for 1 minute 10.035 on his side of the agenda. As Yari Van Bassal will start his first final lap as well in P11. He's just on his outlap in Sector 2 at the moment, but so far it is Ferrari looking pretty decent at the moment on Javier Fernandez's side of things. Unfortunate for Stefano to get knocked out in Q1 there, just losing out to Felipe Sousa, was right on the cusp of what it sounded like to Joanna, but it's definitely very, very tight in this Q2 session as well. If you can look from second all the way down to fourth, it's separated pretty much exactly by 1/100th of a second, about 15 thousandths of a second between the 3 or 4 of them at the moment. So it's absolutely agonizing to watch if you're fans of any of those drivers. Brilliant to see if you're a neutral, as we see Jari van Bassau starts his first flying lap in Q2. The man who's been really on form last time at Belgium, the Dutchman, of course, made his debut last time out, got a podium with that P3. Could have been a win if the safety car didn't come out, but racing, unfortunately, happens in the most cruelest of ways, and Jari van Bassau is going to have to pick himself up and try and get to that top spot today at Canada. We can see how he does, Joanna.
Unfortunately, for now, the lap is invalid. So he will have to go again. It's not yet that he will put a time on the board. But of course, still plenty of time, almost 9 minutes to go. And the Alpine driver will for sure try. I think he'll try to descend just one lap right after. If I'm not mistaken, in Canada, it's one of those tracks that you actually have to take a bit more fuel than you'd like. So hopefully we'll have some action on track in a few moments when he, of course, he's already on the 3rd sector, and of course behind him we'll have Primoz and Jan Allard, the only McLaren up to the 2nd qualifying session, starting their attempts as well.
Yep, definitely. So Tony Roche will have Jari van Bassau will have to go again for that one, as I think he has done. Also, we're currently watching Primoz Miklevich, as Joanna just said. He's coming towards the final corner. Just behind him is Jan Halladej as well. Hopefully they don't bump into each other at any choice, but they seem to have pretty nice distance between the two of them, so should not see any issues about jumping each other there, as we'll run on board with Primoz Miklevich for the rest of his lap. 7 minutes and 30 seconds left to go here in qualifying 2. Place your bets who will be on pole position for the Canadian Grand Prix. Let us know in the chat below, as Primoz Miklevich goes to a 19.493 in Sector 1. Pretty nice and tidy. Sector 2, wrestling with the car a little bit out of the exit of Sector 2. As he makes his way into the Rolex board, braking just at the 100-meter board. Flick on the right, flick on the left. And once again, the car just disagreeing ever so slightly on that Aston Martin machine. Braking hard for the 100-meter board, 41.556. Beautiful Sector 2, though. Yellow flags just in front of him. Not sure who it's for. Maybe someone just starting their flying laps. I wonder if it is Danny Berezny just in front. No, it's not. It's going to be someone else. It is Milan Mayer just in front in the Haas. Thankfully gets out of the way nice and quickly to run aboard with Primoz Miklevich still out of the final corner. A little bit of a moment on the curb, but does get away with it, and across the line for Primoz Miklevich and into the top 2 and onto the front row. Beats Daniela Haddad by only a little bit, by about 200ths of a second. It's P2 for Primoz Miklevich, but Javier Fernandez so far untouchable, it seems.
Alert, I saw Danny Berezny passing the end of the 2nd sector with minus 0.5. So it should be an interesting time, and it should be in line with Chena Kinchi's time, who just jumped to P1 with a 19424. Let's see where Danny Berezny can go as he's going to cross the line, and he's up to P1, 19246. Impressive.
Very, very impressive indeed. 2 tenths quicker, 2 and a bit, yeah, about a tenth and a half quicker than Chana Kinchi so far, as Jeremy Glenier puts it into P3 as well. Lethal Sniper momentarily on pole by 1,000ths of a second to Javier Fernandez, and it's all looking a little bit tasty for Javier now to try and get himself into Q3. Currently sitting P6 as Lillian demotes him to P6 with his P3 time of 1 minute 9.543. Tony Roche as well making his way up to P4 with a 1 minute 9.556. The Red Bull boys doing extremely well so far with that 3-4 spot, locking out the 2nd row. That's everyone pretty much who's currently on a lap. I think Jan Halladej decided to go again. Yes, he did. He slots into P8, really playing it hard and cutting it fine for the McLaren team. You might just have enough time to go again if you would like. But that P8 spot, he probably isn't liking that one bit and looking a little bit tasty indeed. Felipe Sousa is going to have to go again. He's in the drop zone alongside Milan Mayer, Daniel Clishan, Jari van Bassau and Igor Aruo as well. But Danny Berezny currently sitting pretty with 2 tenths towards him with Chana Kinchi in P2. And also, let's have a look where Daniel Haddad's doing. He's not sitting pretty in P10 as he enters the pits as well.
He invalidated the first attempt and went for a second one, but probably considered that the gain he was gaining, pardon my expression, the amount of time that he was gaining on this lap wasn't enough, considering that he could just come into the pit lane and do another attempt, while if he finished that attempt, he probably wouldn't have enough time for another third attempt on this session, so he opts to go into the pit lane and prepare for another exit at the end of this qualifying session.
Definitely so. Daniela Haddad, the defending champion, of course, currently sitting P10 at Canada and hoping for a little bit of a better qualifying position so far. Igor Aruo is out there as well. He's the only man out on track at the moment in the Alfa Romeo team, yet to set a time, so this will probably be his one and only shot to do so at the moment. Currently sitting P15. 3 drivers haven't set a time yet. That's Daniel Cleason, Yeri Van Bassau, who invalidated twice, I'm going to assume, and Igor Aruo, who's probably invalidated as well, as we just said as well. Joanna just said Daniela as well, having a few troubles with invalidations. A lot of drivers struggling a few with their first couple of runs, and then the second opportunity, they get it right on the money. Igor Aruo is coming towards the final couple of corners now to start his first one. Joanna, let's take a lap of the Canadian Grand Prix with Igor, why don't we?
So Igor needs to improve his time. He goes into this first sector. Of course, loads of memories from Senna on that corner, especially with the homage to Lewis Hamilton a few years back. And of course, Igor knows he needs to improve, to put a time on, not really improve, as he hasn't won. Finishes the first sector. He has a bit of traffic ahead of him, but of course, the Aston Martin getting out of the way, and of course, hopefully, the Alpine won't be an issue as well. Now he goes to the left. Danny Berezne, meanwhile, his teammate retires from the session, saying this is quite enough for going into the third qualifying session. Finishes the second sector. Let's see where this third sector will put him. Once again, he has traffic ahead of him. He has one of the AlphaTauris just waving ahead of him, but so far still a bit of a space between them, so it should be okay for this final chicane. And he completely cuts the entrance to this chicane, and he invalidates his lap. So this will be the end of the qualifying session for the Brazilian.
Yeah, very, very unlucky there. He had some bucket load of talent in Q1, just running out a little bit in Q2 with that invalidation. He's going to have to try again in the race. It's a big mountain to climb at Canada to get from 15th well up towards those top few spots as the top 4 retire from the session. They think they've done enough, and they probably have, as Jeremy Grenier currently in P5 trying to improve. So is Lethal Sniper. As we get towards the crunch time, everyone out on track at the moment. We'll see where everyone is in regards to everyone. Felipe Sousa currently about just under 4/10 of an improvement on his current best as Sector 3 yellows start flying. That's someone in front. I believe that's one of the Williams. I believe that might be Danny Berezne in front. Yes, it is. He's just starting his final lap in qualifying. We'll run on board back with Felipe Sousa. Can he get himself out of qualifying? Yes, he can, into P6 as Daniel Haddad was finishing his lap time. He goes P4 with a 9.549. Felipe Sousa with a 5.56, setting the exact same time as Tony Roche into P6 because Tony got there first as Yeri Van Bassau into P7 there. Little bit touch and go between the two of them. So close between 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. About 1,000th between 5th and 7th. And almost less, about 3/10 between 5th and 8th there as Jan Haladej slots it into P3. Exact same time as Janak Hinchey as well. 4.24, plays a 4.24. And this is getting really, really interesting in this qualifying session. Javier Fernandez crosses the line. He can't improve. He's out of qualifying unless he's going to try and go for one more. He's got time to do so if he wants to. Milan Meyer seems to be going slowly so far. We'll have to wait and see. I think that might be wrong. Igor Aruo decided to go again, I think, as well. So he's just about got enough time to go again. And it's really starting to get touch and go in this one. Primoz Miklovic currently slowing down. He's out as a checker flag flies out at the moment. He's in the danger zone as it starts to get pretty interesting in these final couple of seconds.
Well, Igor is still trying to put a time on the sheet, even though he doesn't really have as much battery as he might have wanted to. Let's see where will this lap put him. Of course, never giving up is part of the job. Let's see. This time he cuts it a little bit better and manages to keep it valid. So finishing the lap and jumping to P12 is better than P15, but it still means out of the third qualifying session.
Yeah, definitely so. Javier Fernandez crossed the line. He goes P12, so Igor Arujo is 13th there, and that will bring a pretty swift end to qualifying there, Joanna, sorry.
Yeah, of course. So, Daniel got only, pardon me, only 6, so this should be interesting. If come the third qualifying session, the gaps are still the same. Which, let's face it, if we ignore the time from Dani Beresny, it's insane how closely they are, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely so, as Primož Mikljević puts it into the wall. But yeah, absolutely incredible how close it is. We'll get up the leaderboard for you there. It's Dani Beresny topping the time sheet so far by about about a tenth and 3/4 of a second, with Canik Inci and Jan Halliday setting exactly the same time there. As we'll get the results fully up towards you right now. Javier Fernandez finishing P12 there. Unfortunate to see that he did have some good talent going into Q1, but once again, just a little bit too slow for his liking. There it is then, Dani Beresny on top in Q2. Canik Inci in P2 by a 10th and 78/100ths of a second. Jan Halliday setting exactly the same time in P3. Daniel Klishton sees himself into Q3 on debut in P4. Lillian is 5th with Daniel Haddad in P6. Tony Roche is 7th. Felipe Souza in P8, and that is the gap where we are really looking at there. 5th down to 8th, separated by almost about 13 thousandths of a second. Yari Van Bassel is 9th with Jeremy Guillenier in P10, and Primož Mikljević, Javier Fernandez, Igor Arujo, Lethal Sniper, and Milan Mir are all knocked out in qualifying 2. As we move to the shootout in qualifying 3, one of the most talented Q3s we've had this season, and this still could be anybody's game to see who goes through into, well, who gets into the pole position slot. And this is very much crucial at Canada. There's not many overtaking opportunities you can go for.
Well, there are many overtaking opportunities. The thing is, when you're on a DRS train, those opportunities just disappear because the guy ahead of you can run away as well. So the leader of the train is the one in danger, really. But there's plenty of opportunities, I'd say, that especially on the first few laps, and if there is a safety car, we should have quite a messy situation on our hands. On the other hand, talking about hands, Dani Beresny, the first on track on this third qualifying session, a bit surprising, or no, if you consider that Daniel Haddad is right behind him, so the supporters just wanting to get it done quick and as soon as possible. So if there are any mistakes, they still have time to recover from them.
Definitely so. As we go into Q3 now, Dani Beresny leads the charge out with also Canik Inci and Daniela Haddad, the 3 really main players in this race today, with obviously Dani Beresny and Canik Inci, the main players in the championship so far. Still mathematically possible for Daniela Haddad to try and win the championship. He's going to have to hope he wins pretty much every single race from here on in, and hope Dani Beresny doesn't get many points, next to none, really, as he starts a lap with Dani Beresny on board here at the Canadian Grand Prix, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, as he gets into turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3. Not losing traction at all. A little bit of a wobble on the exit. Does get away with it into 4 and into 5. Really attacking the curbs as much as you can. The flatness is quite nice around this track. A 19.295 in Sector 1 for Beresny. We'll see what Dani Beresny has done. Daniel Haddad, sorry, he's done. We couldn't quite catch it. We'll see what he does in Sector 2. Dani Beresny coming towards it now. Hop on the right, throwing towards the left like a skateboard on those curves You want to ride them under the Rolex banner in towards the hairpin. Big braking zone, 41.176 in Sector 2. Daniela Haddad does a 44, 45. I think we've missed that once again. We'll see how the times go out at the end of the session as Danny Berezny coming towards the line. Now one of the Alpines just in front. I believe that might be Yuri van Bassel. Yes, it is. As Janakinci is on a lap. Hop, skip and a jump over the wall of champions. Nicely ridden and across with Danny Berezny. It's been a beautiful lap so far and across the line. It's a 1 minute 9.446. Brilliant time there as Daniel Haddad abandons his lap.
So, of course, some difficulties for the Italian of the Williams. For now, it's Danny Berezny, the only one with a time on the sheets. Of course, with Janakinci also invalidating his attempt and coming back into the pit lane. We have only Jerry Van Bossel on his first attempt on this last qualifying session.
Yep, Yuri van Bassel will finish his lap right now as he comes through Sector 2. Can he try and manage to get on par with Danny Berezny? We'll see what he's like in Sector 2. 41.5. It's not bad at all. I think on average he's about 2/10 slower at the moment, so he's pretty much there or thereabouts with the Hungarian is the Dutch driver. Number 23 car, 21's car, sorry, of the Alpine of Yuri van Bassel as he comes towards the final couple of corners. Big braking zone as he entered just about 75 meters from the corner. Nicely ridden out of the final two and across the line for Yuri van Bassel. That's a 1 minute 9.743, about 3/10 slower than Danny Berezny, but definitely a load more time still to be had with the track evolution coming into effect later on in the session. Tony Roche also out there. The two Red Bulls are out there. We'll see what Lillian is doing. He's currently in Sector 3 for the second Red Bull cut. He comes towards the wall of champions now into a big braking zone of the 75 meter. Just a little bit of a kiss to try and keep the car going as quickly as possible. DRS straight in your face. Sector 1 has a few yellow flags across the line for Lillian, and it's the front row, 1 minute 9.522, and that is really where Red Bull want to be, and that is a really, really good lap time indeed. Tony Roche will come towards the line now. He's coming towards the line now, but I think he's had a little bit of a mistake somewhere, and he does a 14.821.
In the meantime, we'll have Daniel Haddad going for his second attempt. Of course, he still doesn't have a time on the spreadsheet, so he needs to get this lap, a decent lap at least, so he can go for the last attempt with not so much pressure on his shoulders. Of course, for now, it's Lillian in P2. He for sure, at least Lillian wants to pass. Of course, he wants to pass Danny Berezny, there's no doubt about it. But he's our our championship leader. So let's see where Daniel Haddad will fit into this. For now, it's a 19.2 on the first sector. Let's see if he manages to keep up and improve, considering, of course, the last lap was invalidated, but he still did the first and second sectors. Let's see if he manages to get it even better and not invalidate it at the end.
Absolutely so. He's had a rapid Sector 1 and Sector 2, 41.206 in Sector 2. Daniel Haddad is on a flyer here for the Williams Esports team as he comes towards the final couple of corners. And Daniel Haddad, the Italian stallion, as I'd like to call him, coming in towards the final couple of corners now. Hopefully no invalidations here. Doesn't look like it. Taken pretty nicely. Attacking the walls. Jan Haladej retires from the session. He's left actually, and it's pole position for Daniel Haddad. He dethrones Danny Berezny, and by little bit of a margin, 9,000ths of a second to be precise. Wow, that is very close between the two of them. Danny Berezny is on a lap at the moment, but he's 13,000ths down on his current best. Danny Berezny, he's gone early in his second run as Janakinci beats the both of them by 2/10 of a second. Janakinci beats it 2/10, 9.227. That is a very good response for Janakinci there. About a 10th quicker than Daniel Haddad, and about 2/10 quicker than Danny Berezny. And this championship fight is getting a little bit tastier for Janakinci and Danny Berezny, taking full advantage of Ismail Fassi's absence here. And Danny Berezny is going to need something out of these final couple of corners. He comes towards the wall of champions right right about now, braking very, very hard, about 75 meters just before the 50, taking it nice and gently. A little bit of a tap on the wall as he comes towards the line now. What's it going to be for Dani Beresne? It's a 9.127, an immediate reply for the Hungarian. He goes quicker by a tenth of a second. Game on. Daniela Haddad versus Chana Kinchi. What have you got on Dani Beresne?
Well, at least for Daniela Haddad, I can tell you that he lost a bit of time on that last hairpin. Well, only hairpin really. If you look at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve layout, so interesting to see what he will do on his final attempt. Of course, there's no sandbagging now as we go into the final attempt of these whole qualifying sessions. And there is a poll for someone looking out there. It's going Beresne at the moment, but let's see what Chana Kinchi and Daniela Haddad will be able to answer, and of course all the other 7 drivers. Because if we pay attention, we can see that Felipe Souza, Jeremy Glenner, and Jan Aladesh still haven't posted a time. So interesting to see where will they finish this qualifying session.
It is definitely interesting indeed. Dani Beresne topping the timing sheet so far as we enter the calm before the storms. I like to say Lillian, the only man out on track at the moment with 3 minutes left to go in qualifying. Chana Kinchi sitting P2, a tenth exactly down on Dani Beresne. Daniela Haddad about 3 tenths down, about 2 tenths down, 2 tenths down on Dani Beresne, sorry. So it is really incredibly tight between that top 3. We'll have a look at the gap right now. It is actually 3 tenths on Dani Beresne. Daniela Haddad there. I was correct in that sense, with Lillian about 4 tenths. Yuri Van Bassal 6 tenths. Tony Roche 7 tenths. Daniel Cleishan 8 tenths. As Felipe Souza, Jeremy Glenier, and Jan Haladesh yet to set a lap on the board. As everyone coming out now, bar Dani Beresne so far, so he's leaving it a little bit late, unless he does have a spare of soft compound tyres left to go in the chamber, is the question. Unless he's going to leave it incredibly early. Here we go then, with Lillian across the line to start his final lap in qualifying. And Joanna, this is going to be make or break for Lillian to try and see if he can make it into that top 3, maybe even the top 2.
Well, to be honest, I don't think that Dani is leaving it later. It's a 1-9 lap around here. Of course, in the out lap, you take a little longer. But it's still 2 minutes to go, so plenty of time for the Hungarian driver to be able to go for his attempt. In the meantime, Lillian invalidating his attempt. So trying to get, well, thankfully he has loads of batteries, so he will still have time, maybe burning a bit of fuel at the moment. So he'll go as light as possible for his last attempt.
Yeah, definitely so. He's going to, well, the thankful thing at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, you can afford to go for 2 laps around here. So definitely Lillian will take full advantage of that one. Dani Beresne still just coming out of the pits right now as we just look on to him with 1 minute and 20 seconds left to go in the session. He's left it late. He might just have enough time to get through in this session. Daniela Haddad, 21 thousandths up in sector 1. He's going to need a little bit more than that if he wants to make it on pole position. He needs about 3 tenths of a second exactly. Dani Beresne now joins the fray out on track. So does Tony Roche in the Red Bull. We ride on board with Daniela Haddad for the rest of his lap as Yeri Van Bassal put it into P3 there. A brilliant lap time as the Alpines lead 2 and 3 as Haddad now into P5. We'll see where Haddad leads into the final couple of sectors if he can try and keep his lap time going. Chana Kinchi now goes pole position with a 1 minute 9.084. He now joins the party into pole position. Daniel Haddad, what is his answer? Can he get himself on pole position? Jan Haladesh puts it to P4. Daniel Haddad across the line now. It's P3 with a 1 minute 9.132 and only a couple of thousandths slower than Dani Beresne. But Daniela Haddad will not be on pole position for the Canadian Grand Prix. Yeri Van Bassal is P4. Jan Haladesh is P5. Dani Beresne is crossing the line now for the Alpine team. Can he go better than Chana Kinchi? Slower a little bit. He's going to go for one last attempt in this qualifying session with 1 minute to spare. spare. Checker flag is now out. Lillian will finish no higher than P8. We're going to stick on board with Danny Berezny for this whole lap. Everyone has pretty much completed their times. Tony Roche, bar the exception. Here is Danny Berezny. What's he done? He's 7 thousandths down in Sector 1 at the moment. Where can this Alfa Romeo put his machine in a little bit of traffic? I think that's Daniela Haddad just in front of him in the other Williams car. No problems there so far. As Danny Berezny really attacking. A big moment. He's at the wall. Danny Berezny hitting the wall. And that is his end to his qualifying charge, his pole position charge. And that might mean Chanakinchi is on pole position for the Canadian Grand Prix. A huge moment for Danny Berezny. Might be some issues to say that he was impeded a little bit. But Danny Berezny having a huge moment as Tony Roche goes to P8, but Chanakinchi will not take away from that one. Danny Berezny losing the car in Sector 2, and Chanakinchi, for the first time this season, is on pole position at the Canadian Grand Prix, and the championship is back on for the Turkish driver.
Quite an interesting session from him, but a word for Jan Aladesh, who one-shotted this last qualifying session and still managed to grab P5.
Yeah, definitely so. Jan Haladesh doing very, very well in that P5 spot there, doing the business for McLaren as well, as he usually has done. Race winner, of course, round 4 at Azerbaijan by quite some way. It was absolutely fantastic, that race, and currently sits himself P5 in qualifying. So definitely watch out for Jan Haladesh, Yeri Van Bassel, Daniela Haddad as well, Danny Berezny off the lights, and Chanakinchi as well. As what an end to qualifying there. The top 3 separated by less than half a tenth of a second, and pole position has gone to Chanakinchi for the first time this season. Danny Berezny is on the front row in P2 with a 1:09.127. There we go. Finally got it out of my mouth there. Worth by 43 thousandths of a second. Daniela Haddad is third by 48 thousandths of a second. Yeri Van Bassel is fourth for Jan Haladesh in P5. Really in the mix there with Daniel Clichin in 6th. Yeri Glenier is 7th with Tony Roche in P8. Lillian is P9, and Felipe Souza rounds out the top 10 for Mercedes by only a little bit to Lillian as we start the Canadian Grand Prix. And what an absolutely fascinating end to qualifying that was there, Joanna.
Definitely. Interesting to see both Red Bulls into the third qualifying session as well. So let's see what they can bring out of this race. Of course, still quite a few laps to go around these circuits, isn't it? 36, I believe. Let me just check really quick. 35 laps around Gilles Villeneuve circuit in Montreal. So let's see. Both Alpines, P1 and P4, very well done by Jerry Van Bassel as well. Slotting right behind the 3 esporter or ex-esporters that are on tonight's grid. So let's see if he manages to keep the position, maybe get in the way of the top 3 fight, or if Jan Aladesh will have a better start and jump him at the start. Let's see. We'll see in a few moments what will come out of this first few laps. Reminding everyone that we will not be having a formation lap.
No, definitely not. We'll quickly run down the order for you. Chanakinchi, P1, Berezny, P2, Haddad, 3rd, Van Bassel, 4th, Haladesh is 5th with Clichin, 6th, Jeremy, 7th with Roche in 8th, Lillian de Brevcourt is 9th with Sousa in P10, McLavchich is 11th with Fernandez in 12th, Arujo 13th, Lethal Sniper 14th, Milan Mayer is 15th with Stefano Ramazio in 16th, Pookie 17th, Menor 18th, Drax in 19th, and Nardi Perez is 20th. We're about to get ready for the Canadian Grand Prix. Place your bets is round 6 of the Oral season. We have 3 lights on at Canada. We have 5 lights on at Canada. They go out, and we're racing in Montreal for a split second there. A little bit of a delay, but it's Chanakinchi who gets away well. Danny Berezny getting a little bit better and leads into turn 1. If Chanakinchi couldn't say anything about it, he dives it down the inside, retakes the lead. Daniela Haddad round the outside. Can he make it work? Not quite, but it's Chanakinchi having the poorest start off the lights, but getting the job done into turn 1 as Lillian has had a crash already at the start. There's been a little bit of an incident further back as the virtual safety car has been deployed after about 6 corners corners of racing. An interesting first lap, but already Lillian straight off the lights. A horror start for Red Bull. Not sure what happened at the back, but it's already Chanakinchi who leads this one with Danny Berezny in P2. Haddad is third, Van Bassel fourth, with Haladesh fifth, Richer sixth, Cletion seventh, Jeremy in eighth, Sousa up to ninth, and Javier Fernandez in P10. But a very, very interesting start to this one, Joanna.
Unfortunately, I didn't quite catch what happened at the start. I only saw Felipe ghosting, so he might have been involved, or he might have been one of the fortunate ones to not get caught in the collision. At least aesthetically speaking, he doesn't seem to have any damage to his Mercedes car, so hopefully no major problems for the Brazilian. Of course, the full grid starting on the hard compound tires, the preferable strategy around Montreal. So, and of course, Igor Araújo having to come into the pit lane at the end of this first lap. Thankfully for him, with it would be better if it was a full safety car, but the virtual will not let the other guys go as quick as they would if there was no virtual. But there is no virtual anymore, so let's see if Igor manages to catch up to them. Of course, he goes for the medium compound at the moment.
Absolutely, as Medesha Mena and Drax for P14. Battle away. Medesha Mena is the winner out of this one, but we focus more to the front of the field. Chanakinchi leading this one and eating into Danny Berezny's championship advantage at the moment, as Chanakinchi bringing home the 25 points at the moment, as Daniel Cleason and Tony Richer squabbling him over 6th and 7th, and it goes to the Red Bull man getting the job done into the hairpin. And the Red Bull driver up into P6. Lovely job there from Richer, the Frenchman, in the Red Bull tonight. As we enter lap 3, DRS is enabled this lap. Danny Berezny, a 4/10th advantage to Chanakinchi in P2. Sets the fastest lap. Jan Hildich, everyone setting the fastest lap. Javier Fernandez now starting. Now Milan Meyer setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix in P15. 13.859 on the hard compound tyres, as DRS is now available this lap. Danny Berezny eating into that advantage. 4/10. He'll be able to use the DRS for the first time coming down this straight as he comes towards the left-hander. Daniela Haddad waiting in the wings, 7/10 behind, as Jeremy having a moment there, losing 2 positions out of the first couple of corners. So a little bit of an incident may have happened there, a little bit of a lost control maybe for the AlphaTauri driver, and that was not ideal at the start of this one. They're trying to Kinchi now within 4/10 of Danny Berezny as they start to gap away to Haddad ever so slightly.
Watch out for Javier Fernandez, a bit of a dive on Felipe Sousa, but manages to go up to P9 on the Ferrari. Felipe, I think, back to the position he started on.
I believe he is, yes, in P10. I think he started P10. It's just further up the field. Danny Berezny gets the job done, not waiting around, and he retakes the lead of the Canadian, takes the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix, sets the fastest lap in doing so with a 12.539, and Chanakinchi now has to do some digging a little bit more, and this is just going to try and follow Berezny until the pit stops, which might come in a few laps time, but hopefully for his sake it comes in a little bit sooner time, that he might be able to start to catch up to him a little bit longer.
Hopefully. Still, our grids still quite close to each other. Danny wasn't able to open the DRS range on these first couple of laps, so he will be having Chanakinchi following him quite closely with the aid of DRS during this first stint at least. But of course that doesn't seem to be a problem for Danny Berezny, as he's setting purple sectors as we comment on. So let's see. I don't think there will be plenty of overtakes at the moment. There might be a few more on the rear of the field, as they will want to recover some of the positions before the first pit stop.
Yep, definitely so. Danny Berezne on an absolute charge at the moment, trying to break away from the DRS. Chanakinchi has done so on Daniela Haddad. We can just have a look at the DRS front, about 40% on Danny Berezne. You can see him using it just out of the corners. So he's desperate to try and break away from Chanakinchi, who hasn't really touched as much. He's touching it a little bit now, but not as much as Berezne has. His Lethal Sniper gets the first penalty of the day for multiple warnings. That's for track limits. And now Danny Berezne gets out of the DRS just after the detection zone, on Chan Akinci. Is the 1 second gap now starts to rain out. We can focus a little bit more further behind with Jan Haladej and Tony Roche, with Yeri Van Bassal waiting in the wings as well in P4. Looking like he doesn't have a head for a second. Don't think he does, but typical F1 games for you there. But Jan Haladej looking quite tasty on Yeri Van Bassal up in front, and so is Daniela Haddad. He's just starting to lose a little bit of pace to the front runners ever so slightly. We can definitely try and close up a little bit more later on, as already Yeri Van Bassal looking maybe to try and take away this position from the Williams machines. He's having a look down that inside, I think a little bit too far away, and yes, a little bit too far away into turn one, but more overtaking opportunities will present himself later on in the race.
Oh, unfortunately for Danny Berezne, he made a few mistakes on the last lap, so Chanakinchi was able to get back into the DRS range of the Alfa Romeo driver. And thankfully for him, Daniela that is not with him. So it might be a two-man shootout at this point. It looks like it at least. And interesting to see Thierry Van Bussel managing to keep up with Daniela that.
Yep, definitely so. Yeri Van Bassal doing a good job keeping up to the Williams man, of course. Jan Haladej racing in the wings also. We can have a look on that halo cam. A little bit of an awkward camera, so we'll switch to the T-Pod. About 5 tenths away from the Williams driver as Chanakinchi starts to eat back into Danny Berezne's advantage as the ERS starts to lose in favour to Danny Berezne. Yeri Van Bassal closing. Not quite close enough into the section of the Wall of Champions. We will get a pretty tasty run out of the back of the final couple of corners into turn one. It's still a little bit too far away. He's going to have to rethink, and maybe it's just time for Yeri Van Bassal to give Haddad a little bit of the hurry up nudge, just to say, I'm here, maybe let's try and work this out. Maybe let me go. As I just say that, he gets a penalty for track limits. He's going to have to work on that a little bit longer. That was a little bit of his downfall as well at Belgium, so a little bit more work on that for Van Bassal. Can definitely get up there with some decent points.
Interesting to see from Chanakinchi's point of view is that Danny Berezne is blinking, so seems like a bit of a battery advantage for Chanakinchi at the moment. So interesting to see if he is going to actually attack the Alfa Romeo driver, or he is happy to just stay behind our championship leader. Of course, Chen has all the interest of the world to gain positions on Danny, at least at the end of the race, because he needs to gain points on the Hungarian if he wants to challenge for this championship. And as I speak, it seems we have Jerry Van Bussel and Daniel Haddad. Joshua.
Yep, we're just making that move there. Yeri Van Bassal not waiting around for Haddad, and he makes the move on to the podium so far on track, at least, and have an Alpine make it into a 2-3, and it might be a 1-3 in a couple of moments' time, as Danny Berezne has tried to gap Chanakinchi, but that plan has definitely failed, as he is blinking, as we can say. That means he's under 10% battery, as you can see they're trying to each other on 11 now. Chanakinchi, let's have a look at his dial just on the front. I believe that reads 57%. So Chanakinchi will be licking his lips here to maybe think, I have an opportunity. If I can try and get closer to try and overtake, I have an opportunity to just try and drive away if I do so please. But unless that's his gameplay or not, we'll have to wait and see. He definitely has probably a lot of a team behind him trying to see what he wants to do and what they want to do. Nadi Perez, however, picks up a 3-second time penalty. So we'll wait and see. Just going back to Chanakinchi, we'll wait and see what he has to offer as Daniel Haddad loses the second advantage to Yeri Van Bassal, and that leaves him vulnerable to Jan Haladej, who makes an easy pass on Haddad and gets up into P4. Next target for Haladesh is Van Bassel. Antonio Roche will be looking on Haddad as well to start lap 9 of 35 of the Canadian Grand Prix. And China Kinchi is all over the back of Danny Bereznik.
Interesting to see Jan up to P4, seemingly with no not many problems. Interesting to see, of course, Daniele missing out on the DRS range of Jerry so fast. Seems like a bit of a trouble at the moment for the Italian Williams driver. Of course, we have Tony Richet still on the DRS range of Haddad, so if he misses out on Jan Aladej's DRS range anytime soon, the Red Bull driver will be able to pounce on him and try to take that P5 from him.
Yeah, definitely so. Haddad, as we've just said, there now into 7 cents. Yellow flags in sector 2. Not sure who it's for, but we can see further up the field. Chana Kinchi gets the move done and he retakes the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. And he makes no attempt to try and wait out for Danny Bereznik. And Chana Kinchi takes the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix as the penalties start to flow a little bit more. Jeremy with a 3-second time penalty. And as I say that, he's had a little bit of an incident out of the final couple of sectors. And I think that might have been a collision with the wall as he resets to track. And that is Jeremy Glenier into P18. Any damage doesn't seem to be, so I think a little bit of a spin. That has definitely ruined his race there, and down into P18 and pretty much last. Igor Fraga down in Igor Aruo down into P19 at the moment. Felipe Sousa running P9 at the moment as well, trying to catch up to Javier Fernandez under pressure by Primoz Miklovic as well, though in P10. At the front, Chana Kinchi leading away, and now is his time to pounce, as we just said. He's trying to get away from Danny Bereznik.
Of course, it seems like he's close to doing, not still, Danny will still have DRS on this attempt, I think, but it's quite close, so Danny really needs to push a bit. Of course, Chana Kinchi has, spoiler alert, has the battery on a red number, if you know what I mean. So it will not be a battery battle between those two, because they are playing pretty much without it, both of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, 3 of them, if you consider P3 as well.
Yep, definitely so. I'll have a look. Yeah, just quickly at the front. Yeah, it's definitely in the red there for Chana Kinchi. Down to 5%. As Danny Bereznik's tried to recharge his a little bit. He's down into 17, so still not looking pretty. Looking a little bit better than he was a couple of laps ago, as Yair Van Bassel using a lot of his, also down to 5% and using all of it down the back straight as well. So maybe down into 0. Yeah, he's down to 0. Down there is Jan Haladesh into 50%. Daniela Haddad as well, down into about the bottom half of his battery charge. As it starts to get a little bit tasty with these ERS fronts, as everyone just trying to bolt away from each other, but just not working in their favour, meaning that it's sort of just wasted battery so far, as Daniel Bereznik has the DRS on Chana Kinchi, probably not close enough to make a move, as he can see now he's flashing further back.
He's closing enough to just jump him before the chicane of the Wall of Champions, and up to P3 for Jan Aladej. Let's see if he manages to close the gap. And something happened to Jerry Van Bassel. Yeah,
Jerry Van Bassel going slowly. What has happened here? That might be a wheel issue on his rig. Jerry Van Bassel going slowly, almost to a halt. This could be the end. Thankfully, I think he's going now, but that is a slow moment for Jerry Van Bassel. What has happened to him? And he's now down in P16, so a few issues on his wheel at home, I think. And that is Jerry Van Bassel out of a good position and going more and more slowly. A few hardware and issues for Jerry Van Bassel, and that has lost him another good chance of some good points. And Stefano Ramazio has had a crash as well just in front. He's now into the wall, I think, unless that was a spin. You can have a look there. Don't know if there is any front wing damage on the Ferrari, but Jerry Van Bassel and Stefano Ramazio all in the wars on lap 12 of this Canadian Grand Prix. And now it's getting a little bit interesting, and Jerry Van Bassel going slowly once again. This might be to retire the car.
Yeah, you can't blame him for being frustrated, and now he spins. Because after last week's race, where he had it mostly under control, and now this issue on the last chicane. So very unfortunate for the Alpine driver.
Yeah, definitely so. Was in for some good points and just been blown away. But I'm going to assume a few issues on his side. But it's definitely so unfortunate for the Alpine team who are looking for some good points as well. But meanwhile, yet there it is. Jere van Bassel retires from the session in the pit lane. As Tony Richet all over the back of Daniela Haddad at the moment. He's desperately trying to catch up back to Jan Helades, who's trying to catch up to Danny Berezny in P2. Going to ride on board with the Red Bull man all the way up towards Sector 2 and Sector 3. Yellow flags still for Sector 3 at the moment. Lethal Sniper with another penalty added to his name, as that's just Jere van Bassel parking his car up towards the corner. As Tony Richet now with the DRS on the Williams man on Daniela Haddad. Does he have enough momentum to try and get it done before the Wall of Champions? He's going to have a look. Haddad tries to defend, but he's just not quite close enough. It's agonizingly close, and not quite close enough there. They will have a chance into turn one, looking likely decides to go for the outside as Haddad makes him go to the outside. Haddad to the inside, but Tony Richet just gets there in time, and Richet up to P4 and dispatches of Haddad. And now it's the Red Bulls' turn to try and catch up to Haddad, to Haladesh.
Of course, quite a nice start from Tony Richet if you consider that he was out of the top 5 at the beginning of the race. Unfortunately, very different luck for both Red Bulls. Well, we have Little Sniper retiring on the box, of course. And quite a few drivers already with penalties. Not sure if some of them, not even multiple penalties. Let me check on them. But yes, 2 drivers with 6 seconds already. This might make a difference even if there is no late safety car, which is quite probable around this track.
Definitely so. We've seen our fair share of late drama safety cars this season already at Azerbaijan, and of course we've seen it at Canada as well in real life and in other leagues, so it's definitely a possibility. Any of these guys can make one false error around this Canada, and it's one that punishes very, very dearly. Does Canada, the nature of the very, very tight corners, a very tight layout of the track, and anywhere you can really hit the wall, and that could be the end of your Grand Prix. As this Van Pookie and Melamer battle away. That's Melamer and Drax going into the pit lane, as I think my game has decided to crash for me once again. Do apologise, ladies and gentlemen, but Joanna, if we could get some radio comms once again, that'd be much appreciated.
Okay, so we have 2 drivers going into the pit lanes, of course, Milan Meyer and Drax down to P15 and P16 with the medium compounds. Of course, we already had Javier Fernandez stopping on a previous lap. All top 13 yet to pit, and let's see. We have the top of our field getting out of the airpin. Let's see if we'll have either Chen or Danny stopping on this lap, or if they'll try to go a bit further with these hard compounds, so they'll have fresher mediums at the end. It seems, Chen Akinci goes into the pit lane. Danny Berezny decides to stay out. Now it's the time to push. He's been saving a bit of battery behind Chen Akinci to try. And we have a retirement. Sorry. From... Oh, this is nasty. And this is perfect for Danny Berezny, who now has a safety car. This is really strange. Primoz Miklavsic, Aston Martin, is DNF'd for terminal damage at the entrance of the pit lane. So not sure if there was a confusion with someone on the right trying to go into the pit lane and someone on the left not trying to go into the pit lane, or whatever happened, but we'll have apologies, it's not a full safety car, it's a virtual safety car. So this is awful for Berezny. I'm really sorry for confusing that. This is really bad for Berezny because, of course, Chen Akinci and all the other drivers behind him were able to stop during a virtual safety car, so losing less time than they would if there was none. So Chen Akinci stopped. Javier Fernandez already had stopped, as had Milan Meyer and Drax. And Felipe Souza, Stefano Ramaggio, Jeremy and Igor, all stopping for new mediums, and of course Berezny comes into the pit lane while there's still a virtual safety car. So let's go. At least I will go on board with Chenakinchi to try to see where he will when have green on track. Drive-through penalty for Modesto Mena for speeding under the virtual safety car. Of course, all the other drivers except for Jan Aladesh and Istvan Puki stopping by, and I think that it will be quite close. But Chenakinchi gains on exit, and Nardi Perez hasn't stopped and gets out of the way. We have Chenakinchi and Berezny quite close to each other. Let's see if Chenakinchi with warmer tires is able to open that gap. At the moment, it seems like Dani Berezny is out of DRS to the car ahead.
Yep, definitely. So we are back. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, once again for the crashing. Not sure why it happens, but unfortunately, sometimes it does happen to the people who need it most. But Chenakinchi, so far, making that pit stop as a few issues there for Primož Mikhlovic, I think, going into the pit lane as Milan Meyer in P11 at the moment. Jan Haladesh currently leading this one. Dani Berezny 1.5 between the two of them. Jan Haladesh with a 5-second penalty. We'll look at this for P6, 7, 8, and 9. All with Javier Fernandez, Daniel Haddad, Daniel Clesion, and Tony Roche almost going 3 wide down the back straight. And Javier Fernandez making sure of that P6, but it's so tight. Jan Haladesh now coming in towards the pit lane, side by side, and that is Daniel Haddad in the wall. Is that front wing damage for the Williams car? I think it is. Has been shoved out into the wall, and Daniela Haddad has had front wing damage, and that has absolutely ruined his race there. And that is the Williams definitely out of the points now on the soft compound tires as well. He's gonna have to pit again, and that is absolutely devastating for Daniela Haddad. And in the wall once again as the skies start to get a little bit darker.
Remember when at the beginning of the race I mentioned that Daniele had gotten his race win through a late safety car? So it all might not be lost, and he knows it. There's still plenty of time for a safety car to change completely the race, especially if it comes around the time that he will have to swap those soft compound tires.
Yeah, it could be a tactical move there as Javier Fernandez Daniel Clesion gets past Javier Fernandez for P6, but in doing so, Daniel Clesion gets the DRS. Istvan Puki comes into pit lane, and yeah, that might be a tactical move actually from Daniel Haddad. Just thinking about that from your perspective, Joanna. The clouds start to darken as Dani Berezny sets fast up in the Grand Prix. It could be a tactical move though, as the clouds start getting darker. It could be a move to try and get onto the softs, go for the fast runs to try and smack onto the intermediates for a late run on the safety car. We've seen some late rain happen last week at Belgium. It definitely can happen again as the clouds are very dark around this Circuit Gilles Villeneuve circuit here in Montreal. But this is definitely going to be very interesting indeed near the end. Chenakinchi now retakes the lead of this one with Dani Berezny in P2. Nardi Perez is now P3, but under pressure from Jan Haladesh in P4. This could be very interesting near the end, and this could actually play in Haddad's favour. With a safety car, this could be very worthwhile for Haddad, as there goes Jan Haladesh with an absolute send on Nardi Perez. A brilliant move there, to be fair. Nice and fair, hard but fair. And Jan Haladesh sees himself up into P3 and onto the podium.
Exactly. So let's see if... Oh, not that again! Something must be wrong. Completely alone, he went into the wall twice.
That is very interesting indeed, and he's completely lost his front wing. Something incredibly wrong on that Williams car, and that might be a retirement for Haddad. We were just speaking, it might be okay, but it might not be now anymore, as Haddad has completely lost his front wing on that Williams car, and definitely probably might see the end of Daniela Haddad out of this one. So unfortunate, but was looking for a good result as he comes back into the pit lane. And Daniel Haddad for a replacement wing. Once again, not his day at all so far. He's still going to try and stay in this race as long as possible, which is very good. Kudos to him for staying out, but it's definitely going to be not likely it's going to be his day. As we move over to the front of the grid, Chenakinchi and Dani Berezny still battling it out. The clouds continue to get darker and darker around this Canadian Grand Prix circuit. The battle for P12 between Jeremy Glinier and Stefano Ramazio. He's heating him up as well with a battle for the 10th and 9th between Drax, Milan Meyer, and this one Pookie heating up as well as Daniel Kleitschen gets past Nardi Perez just before the braking zone into P4. And Daniel Kleitschen right now is looking on for a podium finish on his debut with the penalties going his way. So it's not all love lost so far for Daniel Kleitschen, and it's looking pretty good so far. There's a little bit of a lag spike happening, excuse me, on my end, as gets a little bit better for the Haas team, and a few more points maybe going their way as this one Pookie closing up to Drux as well. And it could get interesting near the end for everyone here, as Channing Kinchy and Danny Beresney could be some late drama here. The rain could cause some late drama if it comes. Daniel Kleitschen is on for some good points as well, and a podium finish his way as well. So it could get pretty tasty near the end.
Well, it still is pretty tasty at the moment, with quite a few drivers still very close to each other, especially Tony Richet and Nardi Perez. Of course, it seems like Daniel was able to pass Nardi and get a bit too far from the Mercedes driver to let him have DRS to defend from Tony Richet. So it seems like Tony Richet will have a pretty straightforward overtaking on the Mercedes driver, and Mercedes versus Red Bull. Where have we seen this? Of course. With COVID, I'd say the most memorable fight of the last years that we had on this track, it was between the Mercedes and the Ferrari, and as I said, is Javier Fernandez passes Nardi Perez.
Yep, Nardi Perez is in 2 in 1 there. Richet first, and Javier
He's
second.
waiting for a safety car. Sorry, he's clearly waiting for a safety car.
I think he is, as this Van Pookie into turn 1 has had a spin. Just closing your eyes to attention there. Yellow flags in sector 1. That was this Van Pookie who's made a spin. That might be due to contact, I'm not quite sure. But this Van Pookie facing the wrong way at turn 1. That could be a little bit of a tap, maybe. They were fighting pretty hard into that top 10. But that now sees Felipe Sousa in P9, Jeremy Glinier in P10, and Drax in P11. So not ideal for Istvan Pookie, and he's now going to have to try and work a little bit harder to get back up into his position. Meanwhile, Danny Beresney is starting to close back into the DRS of Channing Kinchy with about 11 laps to go. It's going to get pretty interesting from here, as we've already been saying.
Of course, one other thing that we might need to pay a bit of attention is that Beresney is on 2 warnings, so if he puts the tires too far from the track, he will have a penalty, and he doesn't want that. So he has to risk it to catch Chen, but he has to do it in a safe way at the same time. So if this is a bit contradictory, but he still needs. He's in the DRS range, so hopefully he will be able to use it to get closer to Channing Kinchy, but he knows he has to keep it on track.
Definitely so. We'll just have a look at the penalty front as well. 5-second penalty for Jan Halliday. I believe that was for speeding under the pit lane or the virtual safety car. 3 seconds for Fernandez, Milan Meyer, and Stefano Ramazio. He's just got one as well. 6 seconds for Nardi Perez and Drux. 12 seconds for Jeremy Glinier. He's not having a good day out there as well. And 5 seconds also for Medesh Ramirez and the McLaren boys, both on 5-second penalties. Not looking good for them. It's looking quite decent at the start, and as we get to the end, looking a little bit less interesting, as Danny Beresney now 8 cents behind Chan Akinci with 2 warnings to his name. It's getting a little bit tasty, maybe a little bit too close for Danny Beresney's liking. He's definitely prefers it a little bit more out front, and a little bit with a few less penalties up his sleeve. But he's definitely had to work very, very hard for this Canadian Grand Prix if he does so win it, as the sun starts to shine a little bit more. Nardi Perez with another 3-second penalty added to his name as well, as the sun starts to dry out a little bit more, as the clouds start to go away, and the rain might not come anyway, as 7.5 tenths between Channing Kinchy and Danny Beresney, and Danny is really, really pushing as hard as he can to try and get past Channing Kinchy as quickly as possible. It's about 10 laps to go.
About 12 minutes to the end of the race, if we consider the average time around this track. So I'd say that rain is not very, very likely. But we still have a quite interesting battle for the last points paying position. with maybe some teamwork being made between Jeremy and Drax. But still, it seems like the the second AlphaTauri will not have DRS this time around. So let's see if Stefano Ramaggio is able to attack. He looks into the inside, but they will do it side by side. Hopefully they both manages. Yeah, a bit of a cut from Drax. He still loses positions, and of course a penalty for the way he cut that corner.
Yeah, really tight racing all the way through. Yeah, and oh yeah, there you go. Stefano Ramaggio really pushing them 4 wide there. A little bit of contact. They haven't crashed, and it hasn't been a little bit of a feisty issue so far. Huge crash there, and that is Drax out of this one. That may trigger a safety car. A huge crash in the wall. Full safety car has been deployed. That was a huge crash on Drax's side of things, and that was very massive. 3 wide, 2 wide into the right-hander. Never goes well, and Drax out of this one in the Canadian Grand Prix as the full course safety car has been deployed. And now is the time who will pit for fresh compound tyres. Tatiana Kinchi comes to pit lane. He stays out. Danny Berezne stays out. Jan Haladej comes in to try and serve his penalty if he is allowed to. And this is turned on its head with about 8 laps to go. It's going to get very tasty indeed. And this may just bring out the likes of Istvan Pukki, Jeremy Glynn and Felipe Sousa into this battle. Tony Roche on the soft compound tyres, Jan Haladej on the soft compound tyres. Can they last?
Even more interesting, this can put Daniel Haddad automatically into points paying position, considering how many people are penalized ahead of him. He will be able to pit on the next lap. I believe he will. He didn't on this because he would be lapped by Chen and Danny Berezne, who didn't pit. So opting to stay out, but I believe as they are now behind the safety car, he will go into the pit lane on the next lap for a fresh set of softs. We have the top 5 on the mediums, so this might be interesting to see if Tony Roche and Jan Haladej can work together to gain more than P5.
Definitely so, as this is going to get very interesting indeed. Just a question on the soft compound tyres though. 10 laps to go. I don't see them going to the end, if I'm being honest. So unless they're going to nurse them as hard as they can under the safety car period and for about 2 laps, it could be a case of whether they might go to the end or they'll just absolutely hit the cliff right at the end.
They will go to the end. I think they can, at extreme levels, I think they can do around 12, 13 maybe laps. So I think they're quite safe, especially considering that these laps are behind a safety car.
Yeah, definitely so. So, if that's the case, Tony Roche and Jan Haladej have a very good chance of winning this Grand Prix, and the top 5 maybe have caught it wrong. We never know with the penalties. Daniel Haddad didn't decide to pit either, unless he's going to try and come in this lap. He's currently sitting P15. Igor Aruo now comes back into this one as well. This could get pretty interesting with the soft runners near the end of this one, as Chana Kinchi leads it by 0.4 of a second to Danny Berezne. We've seen it before where it's been quite tasty near the end of Azerbaijan. Will it get a little bit too tasty for a lot of these guys' liking? And could this cause a little bit of havoc near the end? We never know, as we're under the safety car for the first time this race. Daniel Haddad will ride on board with him. He decides not to pit, so he's going to stay on the mediums, unlike the top 5. And Chana Kinchi is going to hope to his lucky stars. He's going to try and bolt away as hard as he can for the remaining. We'll probably get ready to go about 28, 29. I'm going to assume maybe even 30. So he's going to have about 765 laps of racing to try and bolt away from Danny Berezne as best as he can and try and hope the soft runners don't catch him up.
You can't imagine the levels of flashbacks that I'm getting right now, considering last year's race. I just hope it goes better.
Let's definitely hope so, because we had some interesting racing last season at the end of the safety car, but let's hope we have some clean racing from all the end, as these last minute safety cars, sometimes all hell breaks loose And we have 10, 11 cars finishing at the end of this one. We've got down to 15 so far. We've lost trucks, which triggered the safety car. Primoz Mikljevic triggered the virtual. Lethal Sniper crash in the pit lane as well. Jari van Bassel with a few technical issues on his end, having to retire the car. And Lillian, right at the start of this Grand Prix, triggered the first virtual on lap 1, retiring as well. Down to Modestro Mena, who pits for SOS, which elevates Haddad to 14th. Igor Ruo is now 13th. From being at the back all the way through this race, from having a few contacts, I believe, with Lillian at the start. Ravazio in 12th, Puki is 11th, with Meyer in 10th, Fernandez is 9th, Perez is 10th, with Haladej in 7th, Riche is 6th, with Jeremy 5th, Sousa is 4th, Vishen is 5th, is the 3rd on debut, Berezny in 2nd, and Chanakinchi is only a few laps away from his first race win in ORL this season. And this could be a very, very good chance to try and get himself closer to that championship. And definitely this result will overtake him him from Isma Fassi and get him into P2 in the standings.
For sure, and closer to Dani Berezny, which is quite crucial for his aspirations as well. It's a shame about the penalties of Nardi Perez, because he actually managed to get those hard into the safety car. And they paid off by letting him gain a position on the top 10. But of course, with all those penalties, both him and Jeremy are both pretty much condemned to lose quite a few positions.
Definitely so, as the safety car will come in this lap. So we're going to have about 7 laps of racing left. Chanakinchi will decide the pace of the pack and when he will go and when he will stay. He's going to wait and try and dummy Dani Berezny. We're riding on boards with him now as we get this motor race back underway. Through to the right, hop onto the left. Chanakinchi will go. Dani Berezny having a moment out of the final corner, which has definitely helped Chanakinchi to try and bolt away. Place your bets. We're ready to go. We're going once again. Chanakinchi leads this one as Tony Roche making no mistakes to try and get past Jeremy at the start. He's up into P5. Haddad back down to 15th as well. He dispatches Jeremy. It's Tony Roche having a look on Sousa once again. Down the inside goes Roche. Not afraid to make the moves on those soft compound tires. He absolutely has to. Up into P4 now. Daniel Kalishin is up in front as well as further back. I believe that's Jeremy and Nardi Perez having a coming together. Jeremy off the track with Nardi Perez having a look for the switchback. They're 3 wide with Javier Fernandez almost 4 wide with Milan Mayer as well. Oh my goodness me. Look at this battle. 3 wide, 4 wide. They all battling all the way to each other and they've kept it going somehow in some way. Nardi Perez 9th, Milan Mayer 8th. Javier Fernandez finishes this one off in 7th as Tony Roche. Now up into P3 and watch out for Tony Roche. This could be the man who wins the Canadian Grand Prix. Chanakinchi still leads this one so far, but Dani Berezny hot on his heels, but Tony Roche up into P3 on fresh soft compound tyres. This could be the win for the Red Bull team.
Let's see what Jan Aladesh can do. Both drivers on the softs ahead of all the confusion you were narrating. Just gaining quite a few positions. Unfortunately for Jan, he had to take the foot off as Daniel and Tony were side by side and closing the road ahead of him, if you may say so. So it's P5 yet for him, but I'm sure he will at least try to pass Daniel Kelton into that P4.
Definitely so. He's going to have a look down that inside. Goes Jan Haladej. It's a beautiful move on the McLaren. Cleachin is still there. Side by side goes the Haas on the McLaren. But Haladej makes his way through and up into P4 in this Canadian Grand Prix. And Tony Roche is all over the back of Dani Berezny into this one as they start to close up to the leader. Chanakinchi as well. Does Roche dive up the inside? He's going to go for the outside. Goes the Red Bull on the Alfa Romeo. The door slams shut in his face. Dani Berezny's been here before. He knows how to defend, a little bit aggressive. Goes Tony Roche and Dani Berezny side by side up the hill. This could be almost 3 wide if Roche's not careful. Still side by side they go. The Red Bull and the Alfa Romeo. Does Roche hold it down the inside? No, he doesn't. He's going to wait a little while longer, and Berezny is now 2 tenths back on Chanakinchi's. The DRS now enabled this lap on lap 31 of 35. Jan Haladej 1 second back on Tony Roche. Roche all over the back on Berezny and and Akinci. Nardi Perez, a 3-second time penalty for him as it starts to get very, very interesting with 4 laps to go. Tony Roche probably looking to try and get the move done into his. Already looking to the inside on Beresne. He's going to switch back to the inside. The gap is not there. And Roche has to hold on a little while longer. The DRS opens up for the Red Bull as they come towards the back straight. Beresne has his DRS open as well. The Red Bull flashing to the left or to the right. Does Roche go? He goes nowhere. And it's going to have to wait a little while longer onto the back straight. Roche has another chance on Beresne.
Of course, Jan Aladesh enjoying all this battling and gaining 7/10 on Tony Richer. Of course, he needs to keep together with them, but of course, him and Richer with a better exit and the 2 guys ahead on the medium unused tires. They both know they have to do their best attempts on these next couple of laps, otherwise the tires, they will be good, but they will be a lot worse than they are at the moment.
Absolutely so. Look at the gaggle of the train forming just behind everyone, bustling for position. Milan Meyer getting the job done on Felipe Sousa. We're going to focus on this battle in the top 4. And the both Mercedes touch, yes they do. Sousa and Nardi Perez both touching all the way through. We'll try and focus a little bit more to the front row as Tony Roche still so close to the back of Beresne as Jeremy Glenier sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. 1 minute 10.829. Sousa down to 9th once again. They battle all the way through. Everywhere you look, there's battling all the way through. Roche might have a look down the inside. No, he's not. We're going to wait a little while longer as the Red Bull. Maestro Mena up into P10. He dispatches this Van Pookie and of Felipe Sousa as well. The double move heading for the McLaren. Does Tony Roche have a look down that inside on Beresne? He's going to dive it. They make contact a little bit, but Tony Roche with a late move down the inside gets up into P2, and now the DRS attacks for Tony Roche and Danny Beresne. This could end up 3 wide going into the straight, but Tony Roche loses the momentum and Danny Beresne gets back into P2. The lead was short-lived, but Tony Roche has another chance up this back straight. Will go into the T-cam with Danny Beresne. Have a look on Akinci as well. Tony Roche in the background with Jan Haladesh as well. There's battling everywhere you look. It's impossible to see who's going to win this one. With 2 laps to go, Akinci leads, Beresne 2nd, Roche 3rd, Haladesh 4th, Cleachin in 5th. This could go to anyone still with 3 laps to go.
In the back of the field, we have Daniel Haddad passing Igor Araújo, and this is for direct position as both don't have penalties. This still could be a P9 for Haddad with 4 drivers ahead of him with penalties. So let's see at the end. So far we have fight on track with Tony Roche still very close to Danny Beresne. The Hungarian driver managing to keep the car on track, so no penalties for all these top 4. And Daniel Kilson joining the fight and making Jan Haladesh lose a bit of contact with Tony Roche. So this might be the moment that the mediums and the softs start to equalize each other, and there is not really much advantage for the soft tires at this moment.
Has the time run out for Tony Roche and Jan Haladesh? They've probably got one more time, but here comes Danny Beresne all over the back of Chanakinchi. Doesn't wait a little while longer, but Jan Haladesh has a look around that inside of around the outside, of Tony Roche. Not going to work in his favor either. Danny Beresne all over the back of Chanakinchi, and these final 10 laps have been absolutely thrilling all the way to the end. As now, as you're saying, the medium compound tires start to work a little bit better than the softs, about equal, you would say. And has the time run out maybe for Tony Roche to get past Danny Beresne and maybe even win this race? Jan Haladesh at the back as well. He might have lost touch as well. These are the only 2 on the softs to have a capability of winning this one. Or is Chanakinchi going to keep this pole to win victory safe in his hands? We move over to the final lap in a few moments' time. Roche all over the back, and yes, and there we go. Yeah, Daniel Cleachin missing the apex, and there goes Javier Fernandez up into P5. He's also on the sauce with a penalty though, so he's going to have to be careful. Glenier with another 3-second penalty. Here comes Danny Beresne round the outside on the last lap. He gets it done. Beresne takes the lead on the last lap of the Grand Prix. We go over to lap 35 of 35, and this could be the end for Chanakinchi. Richer having a look to the inside, not going to happen, and Berezne is going to have to drain his battery from whatever he has left. He is flashing. Klichin gets past his P5, but Berezne is going to have to drain it as much as he can if he wants this race win. 5/10. Chanakinchi might have just lost this Grand Prix if he's not careful. Akinci, 5/10, 4/10 almost between Berezne and himself, with Richer all over the back. The DRS opens up for the Turkish driver. We have a look to Tony Richer's POV right now. Is it enough for Chanakinchi to get past? This could be Berezne's win, and I think it might just be Chanakinchi losing it on the last lap in the most cruelest way possible. It's been an absolutely thrilling Canadian Grand Prix. Richer having a look to the inside, not gonna happen, and Akinci has been practically leading this one since the start. This could be the end for Akinci unless he can get something down the inside. The DRS will work to the Turks' favour. In towards the back straight, a DNF for Berezne. Berezne with a disconnection on the last lap. I do not believe it. No, Berezne with a disqualification, a big crash, but it's gone to Akinci. Akinci wins the Canadian Grand Prix. Berezne with a disconnection on the last corner. Tony Richer finishes second. Klichin on debut will finish P3. Berezne's Ghost is P4 with 89 thousandths of a second. Jan Halliday is fifth. Mena is sixth. And oh my goodness me, the most cruelest of ways to win a race. And Danny Berezne has lost it, but Chanakinchi has been leading all the way. Definitely deserves that one as well. Both drivers could have deserved either way, but Chanakinchi picks up his first win of the season, and his title charge is back on.
What to say after a last sector like this? Really unfortunate for Berezne, but he still holds on to the lead of the championship. So for sure, he's still in a very good position for the fight. Let's see. I'm pretty sure he will not be happy at the moment with what just happened. But yeah, very well done from both Tony Richer and of course Daniel. I'm sorry, I haven't. Daniel Kilson on the first race, going for a podium, and what a way to do it.
Absolutely. So Chanakinchi picks up his first win of the season from pole position. Tony Richer picks up his first podium from 8th on the grid. A brilliant day for him, alongside Daniel Klichin as well, picking up a podium on debut. Danny Berezne, a disconnection on the final corner of the Grand Prix, makes him P4. Jan Halliday is 5th, Mena is 6th, with Fernandez 7th, Milan Mir is 8th. Haddad finishes P9 after all that, with Sousa picking up points as well. Igor Aruo is 11th, Romazio is 12th, Perez 13th, Pookie 14th, Jeremy Glenn is 15th. We lost Drax, Miklovic, and a lot of others as well we just cut off there. But oh my goodness me, Joanna, that is one of the craziest endings to a league race I've probably ever seen. If we thought China was pretty interesting and Azerbaijan was pretty interesting, this is probably top the lot right there.
Well, to be honest, it's quite right on top with last year's Canada race. So it seems like we are fated to have interesting races in Canada, especially with late safety cars. It seems a bit like the movie of last season repeating itself. But of course, well done for Chanakinchi. It didn't seem like he was going to win at the end, but kudos to him, because he actually was there and his connection managed to go to the end. I don't know how else to say it, not wanting to take merit from his very, very good race. It was, I mean, that virtual safety car also moved a bit with the race, managing to get to take Danny Berezne from the DRS, and then of course this last disconnection was what the Hungarian didn't need it. But then again, to take advantage of the others, these unfortunate events, you have to be there, and Chen was unstoppable the whole race. So in a way, I think it's also well deserved, this victory.
Definitely so. I think we are joined by our race winner, Chanakichi. Now, Chan, if you can hear us, wow, what a way to do that on the last couple of laps of the Grand Prix. It almost didn't go your way, but with the Berezne disconnection, your first race win of the season is yours.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that was a good race. I'm not gonna lie. I was not happy with my qual lap, but it was actually enough. I don't know how, because like there was a 10th in first sector and second, but in race, it was unlucky for Danny. It could be a better race actually. Like it was quite unlucky that it was disconnected. But yeah, it was a good race, and it's a good points for me.
Absolutely. So you overtake Ismail Fassi now in the championship to P2. You close your gap to Danny as well on the top. Do you think the championship is still on from here?
Yeah, I mean, it's still on in my opinion. I think I have a good chance winning it. But yeah, time will tell. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I can disconnect as well. It was really luck based, and this track was not my favorite, but somehow I won it. I'm quite happy, as I said.
Absolutely. So you got the obviously the soft runners on the safety car started to look a little bit threatening. Were you contemplating pitting right at the end? Obviously, it came quite close to you in the box, but were you definitely contemplating on the softs?
I mean, no, because softs. I knew softs were gonna die because like they were really bad at this track. The tire wear was quite high, and there was, I guess, like 6 or 7 laps to go. So I I told myself that okay, the softs are gonna die after lap 5. So I just needed to keep them behind, which was quite hard actually. It was challenging. That's why I actually tried to gap Danny in the first laps of after safety car. It didn't work out. Then I tried lift and coasting to gain some ERS. But yes, soft runners were actually scary. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. We'll let you go from there. Chan, congratulations on your first win and good luck for the rest of the season. 4 rounds to go. And good luck for that one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are now joined by third place as well, Daniel Cleaching. Daniel, it was a really good race for you. Podium on your debut. That's got to feel a very, very nice feeling.
Yeah, it was a nice race. Couldn't quite get the quali lap I wanted, but yeah, I think I made the most of it, or I made the most of it in the race and got, I think, the best result I could get. So I'm happy with that.
Definitely. So obviously, quite touch and go with the safety car near the end. I think you were the ones, one of the ones that stayed out on the mediums. Were you contemplating the softs as well?
Yeah, obviously you have to consider what to do. But I only had used a set of softs. There were probably like 10-12% already. My mediums were like 25, and the softs, they will just worn out very fast, and therefore I decided to stay out on the mediums and hope that was the right decision. And I got overtaken by some of the guys in softs, but at least I got a podium in the end, so happy with that.
Absolutely. So it's always great to have a podium on your debut as well. Obviously, I think we've got Silverstone next. Are you looking forward to that one if you can definitely race?
Hey, yeah, it's going to be interesting if I can. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we'll let you go. Congratulations on your first podium in ORL, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're also joined by P5 sitter Jan Halliday. Jan, tough race from your perspective. It was definitely really, really close from you with the soft compound tyres. But did you think maybe the rim was in sight with a little bit more to go?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say that I disconnected quali, so I had to race on mobile internet. And I'm sorry for everyone if I ruined anyone's race because of my connection. That's first of all.
At least for me as a host, you seemed fine.
Okay. Yeah. it doesn't matter now. But I went for the softs because I had the 5-second penalty, and yeah, I knew I could pick it in the pits, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that was my strategy. I literally had like 81 kilometers per hour going to the pits, so that was very unlucky, but my bad. And I knew that softs will be very bad at the end of the stint, but happily, it was quite a happy end because they managed to be quite good at the end of the race. So yeah, I'm quite happy with P5. Made a big mistake in the chicane, but yeah, shit happens.
Absolutely. Well, it's a great race from you, of course, as well. Moving on to the championship as well, looking quite good as well. Do you think you can continue your momentum going forward?
Yeah, I'm hoping for at least like top 5 or something. We'll see.
Definitely. So, well, going into I think it's Silverstone next week. You're looking forward to that one as well. Do you think you can pick up some more decent points as well?
We'll see. I mean, this isn't my favorite track. I don't have good pace around there, but we will see what happens. Maybe again, lucky safety car or something, and we can pick up some good points.
Absolutely. Well, we'll let you go there. Congratulations on that top 5 finish, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, that is the end of our interviews there. What an absolutely incredible race we were treated to right there. We'll get you up the calendar right there for you to tune in next week. 4 races left to go this season. It's gone so fast this year, and definitely for the whole of the season. British Grand Prix is next. On the 8th of January with the Italian Grand Prix. Follow with that with Australia and Abu Dhabi next time around. That has been it for the 2022 calendar year. Thank you all for tuning in with us for this whole year. It's definitely been a very good year for a lot of us. But Joanna, any last words before we sign off?
Looking forward to Silverstone. Of course, a bit like Canada is. It's normal for some DRS trends to happen, but still a track where loads of action happen, and hopefully we'll have plenty of it next time.
Absolutely. So, well, thank you for tuning us in for this 2022. We will see you for 2023 in the British Grand Prix. Thank you all very much for watching. I've been Joshua Davis. Thank you all for watching this Canadian Grand Prix. We will see you next year for the Silverstone Grand Prix, for the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Thank you all very much. Take care and good night.
Yes.
Easy going right there. Looking at one more to go.